Hello Internet, I am the hero of Julios, once again with another episode of the Saltmarsh vlog. Now, in last week's episode, I was met with a difficult decision between two players who had very strong conflicts of interest. You see, the Raven Queen has these two followers in the party, and the two of them have very differing opinions on what to do with this young cultist of Orcus. I decided to do some research on the Raven Queen and her opinions of death and the death of her followers and her enemies. And while it seems like she has very strong opinions of Orcus and Vecna themselves, as far as their followers go, it's kind of vague. It doesn't say whether or not, she wants them smoten relentlessly or she'll burn their souls forever if she gets her hands on them. It just seems like she doesn't care. As long as her followers send souls to her to sort of gain their memories and knowledge, she doesn't really care who they followed in their previous life. That being said, I decided to give them a message from the Raven Queen in the form of her actually speaking to them for once. Usually through Matthew the Raven, which is Avani's little raven companion, I give visions and little quips and things like that. But this time, the conflict between the two of them was so strong, and they both, actually decided we'll just ask the Raven Queen. Unfortunately, the best I could give them from her was, I do not care when this soul comes to me, be it within the next few minutes from Evander, or in years to come through Avani. Whatever matters is that it comes to me. So, as soon as Avani went off to meditate and the young boy went to sleep, Evander killed him and threw his body in one of the acid traps that was beneath the abbey. So overall, the conflict has been resolved, at least among the players themselves. The characters, this has caused a lot of tension between these two siblings who, for the most part, have never disagreed to an extreme degree. But they're not the only ones with troubles on the bend. See, when they teleported back, the rest of the party was, they were kind of wondering where the kid went. Well, he, died, and that's kind of how they left it. So the party went their separate ways to go about Saltmarsh, solving their own problems and doing their own shopping and preparing for the next few campaigns ahead of them. Because right now, they don't have a job. Nothing's going on. They haven't been asked to do any main quests, and I didn't create any side quests for them, so this was kind of a day to just take in the scenery. For taking in the scenery, let's start with the Orc Wizard Cleric, who decided to just head off to a pub to get himself some ale, to bring it back and have a drinking contest with the half-orcs and the hill giant and maybe a couple goblins if they want to be a part of it. And as he buys a full-size barrel, picks it up and starts walking out the door, who do you think he bumps into? If you guessed the bard that he tried to kill way back at the Abbey, you'd be correct. 'Cause that's just how I decided it happened. So he bumps into that guy in front of a whole bunch of people. These are eyewitnesses. You cannot kill this guy right now because of social obligation. And the best part is, the bard knows it. To make things easier and to help me say it enough times to remember, the bard's name is Bayleaf. And Bayleaf, while recognizing the orc, knowing the orc wanted to kill him, did feel the need to try and talk his way out of this. Of, hey, buddy, I was just paid to fight you. The guys that paid me are dead, therefore no more job. You don't have to hate me. And with that, I will leave you to whatever you are doing. I'm gonna go get a drink. And as he goes to get a drink, the wizard cleric punches him in the back of the head. Now, this could have started a bar brawl. This could have been a problem. However, I kind of didn't want it to come to that in a one-on-one fight, especially given the spells that the bard knew. It could cause a lot of collateral damage, not to mention might actually take out the orc wizard cleric. So I just kind of left it at, I deserved that. I hope you feel better. I'm going to go get a drink. And go get a drink he does. The orc cleric just makes his way back to the ship and lets a few other party members know that the guy is in town. Meanwhile, Felix the monk decides to head off to Eleander's house, asking him if he has any books on wishes or wish-granting creatures or anything like that, in addition to also going to Lady Zendros' place and asking her if she has access to any magic items that can grant wishes. This is about the third or fourth time Felix's player has tried to explore a new venue for getting a wish or a way to change back into his human form, so I kind of made these dead ends. However, I did for Lady Zendros tell him getting a wish-granting item is a legendary feat. It is a very hard thing to do. Therefore, she will only do it if she gets something she very much wants in return. When asked what that was, she said, the apparatus of Kowalsh. It's a spider tank. And this is the weirdest thing, like how this woman who can get her hands on almost any magic item according to the Saltmarsh book, including legendary items, needs the players to get the apparatus of Kowalsh for her. Mind you, the Saltmarsh book has absolutely no spots where you can get this apparatus in book. That is something the DM has to come up with on their own. It's so weird how vague Saltmarsh can be sometimes. But I told them if you get your hands on that spider tank, she will, through her channels, get you a spell scroll that contains the spell Wish. So that's another way for Felix to get his wish. He now has the apparatus of Kowalsh, if he gets his hands on it. Then he has the deal with Kissinger and Boodle. He also has a hag's heart. He also has making a deal, a pact with the hag herself, Granny Nightshade if he wants to. And I don't know if he just heads out to sea by himself and winds up in the hands of a genie, or a Marid in that case. There are multiple ways to change back now. But what I think would be fun, and I don't know what I'm going to do in the future, if I'll even go through with this. This is just random brainstorming in front of a camera. I think it would be interesting to play with the thought that maybe he's always been a fire genasi. See, Felix's backstory is he was a human with a wife, 2 kids, full family man, just a normal life, woke up one day in a cave as a fire genasi with monk skills. Now his goal is to go back and find a way to turn human again so he can be with his family. But what if he's always been a fire genasi? What if a powerful enough dispel magic were to get rid of the modify memory that's been affecting him? Could be fun to play with, could be worth giving a try. I don't know if I'll do it or not. Felix's player is a theater kid at heart, so I'm sure she'll be fine with going in that direction if it turns out to be true. But that's just something that's been pondering in my mind. That's pretty much it for Felix in today's session. Who else am I talking about? Let's see. The Paladin just kind of meandered around town. Actually, ended up going with Evander. So Gorp and Evander went to... Or sorry, Zorp. Gort is his uncle. So Zorp and Evander ended up going to that pub where the bard is. The bard ends up talking with them, and they share a couple drinks together, and that's when Evander grabs the back of his head and slams him into the table. And Zorp heals him back up. Evander hits him again. Zorp heals him back up. In the bard's mind, he's thinking, okay, this is another guy that hates me. I'm just going to keep going till this fine gentleman runs out of heals, and then I'll be fine. That's when Evander's player asks me, are there any guards around? To which I tell him, well, yeah, now that you've slammed a dude's head in, a few guards are watching you. It took me a while to figure out what he... Actually, I never figured out what he was up to. It took a couple other players to figure it out, but I actually never figured it out. His goal was to go to jail. But it ended up in this, comedy loop of just, I deserve that, heal, slam. I deserve that, heal, slam. I deserve that, heal. Until slam, heal... Hey buddy, I'm out of heals. And that's when the bard was like, okay, guards, help someone, I'm being assaulted and I will die very quickly. And then the guards grabbed Evander and they took him away. Evander, the character's goal, was to get into prison so that he could spend some time away from his sister. I'm guessing in order to delude the tension between the two of them after such a heavy decision. Now, the punishment for assault in Saltmarsh is, again, not something covered in the book. So the guards told Beric, the leader of the party, ipso facto, that the punishment for, assaulting someone is either 1,000 gold or 30 days in jail. To which Beric said, have fun, and left. So the rest of the party is pretty far away from Evander right now. This whole session took place over the course of 12 days in Saltmarsh, because I like to time skip ahead a little bit for things like mail, when they order items, new shipments, and the passage of time of their enemies. During these 12 days, Evander has been rolling wisdom saves. To which I told his player to just do all at once. I said, okay, make 12 saving throws. And everyone was like, well, I'm sorry, what happened? Because I had him do the saving throws while he was hitting the bard. So they all thought it was something the bard did. These 12 saving throws represented the 12 days that happened. Over the course of a few of those days, Evander, I believe, rolled a 3, and I think he said 2 7s. So, that's about 4, maybe 5 days total that the Captain Calcifer has been able to watch him. While the scrying spell doesn't last very long, it's enough for him to look around the surroundings and understand the Saltmarsh area. Especially since he has seen the Saltmarsh area before, thanks to a certain someone who works with him. With this, he decides to finally take that sending stone that Evander has been using to bug him and ring up the elf. As Evander's sitting in his jail cell, across from him are his things, just outside of his jail cell. He sees the sending stone start to glow. To me, this is hilarious because Evander just sort of poofs out of his cell, picks up the rock, because it's a normal jail cell. It's nothing magic proof. Saltmarsh doesn't deal with magic users, so he could have just left the jail cell whenever he felt like it. He's literally just being a good boy right now. So he poofs out of the cell, grabs the stone, and listens. And that's when Calcifer tells him, Saltmarsh, huh? And a jail cell at that. I look forward to meeting you. I'll see you in a few days. So Evander puts the stone down, poofs back into his jail cell, and tells the guards that he has a very urgent message he needs to speak to Gellin Primewater. While he is telling the guards this, Gellin Primewater gets a message on his sending stone from Calcifer, saying, I'm coming to Saltmarsh in a few days. Be ready for me. Imagine Gellin Primewater's surprise when a guard comes to his door immediately after that and tells him that a member of Beric's Grim Alliance has a message for him. Now, normally Gellin Primewater would not go to a jail cell to talk to some riffraff, but with an ominous message like that and a local adventuring party who has killed one of the wizards of said pirate who just sent you a message, you don't ignore that kind of thing. So with that, Gellin Primewater makes his way to the jail cell, calmly walks into the door, grabs a chair, sits it down across from the jail cell, and sits straight across, looking Evander in the eye with a very stern look on his face. And that is where I ended the session, because I want to paint this image in my head before I show it to my players. Gellin Primewater, as described in the actual book itself, wants to keep Saltmarsh the way it is. He doesn't want it to change. I believe Ida Owland also does not want Saltmarsh to change, but for a completely different reason. Ida wants to keep Saltmarsh the same because of their culture, their heritage, their families, everything like that. Primewater wants to keep it that way because crime keeps filling his pockets. Either way, though, both of them want it to stay the same, and the way Primewater's been doing it is by protecting Saltmarsh, at least the way he sees it. Because the pirates will not destroy Saltmarsh if it is still profitable to them. However, if cover is blown and connections are destroyed, there's really no reason to keep Saltmarsh around, is there? So yeah, I've been working for the last few days on a speech made by Gellin to Evander, basically telling him, hey, I need you guys to give yourselves up. You guys just need to go to Calcifer, you need to die by his hand so that Saltmarsh doesn't get wiped off the map. I'm not just saying it because I'm a rich guy who wants to stay rich. I'm saying it because aside from me and what my connections have done, Saltmarsh holds no value to people who do not value lives. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm interested. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping the mysteries just get better and better from here. Oh, there is one comedy bit that did happen. After his interaction with Evander, Bayleaf met Ivani and decided, hey, that's his sister. I'm going to flirt with her. And whoo! Okay, so, you know the old joke about like, oh, the player plays the bard and the bard flirts with everyone. I don't flirt. I'm not good at it. I'm not a flirting type of person. Way at the start of the campaign, Evander's player, he decided his character was going to flirt with the leathersmith, and I decided I'd already decided character-wise that she was socially awkward, didn't really know what flirting was, because I don't really know what flirting is. And it kind of put a damper on the potential of a relationship. Since then, I've decided to try and challenge myself, do things differently. And I do thank early attempts for bringing me out of the shell, so to speak. But anyways, the bard decides to flirt with Ivani, and Ivani decides to flirt back, because they are flirting for the exact same reason, to annoy Evander. I told the player of Ivani that this relationship will go no further than the player wants it to. Player autonomy is very important to me, so I try to avoid anything that would make them uncomfortable. She was totally down for it though, so the two characters flirt and they decide to go back to the ship to finish their date, which ended in nothing more than conversation and then pleasant goodnights. But at the same time, Kissinger, the goblin, who has also developed a crush on Ivani, decided to team up with all the other goblins in Boodle to put on a show to try and get Ivani to fall in love with him. He even went out and picked a flower, which turned out to be a weed, but, it's a goblin. He rolls his performance, and I kid you not, gets a natural 20. I even show the die to Ivani's player and say, you get to decide. How does Ivani feel about this performance? It is a 5-star, beautiful performance. The goblins have grabbed mirrors to reflect the moonlight, and Boodle is singing in perfect harmony as Kissinger plays on his handmade banjo. And at the end, I tell them he is singing everything in Goblin, which Ivani does not speak. So yeah, played his heart into that. She has absolutely no clue what he sung. The episode ends with Kissinger sort of staring off into a wall next to his good friend Felix, who is also staring into a wall because Felix has way too many hurdles in front of him to get his wish, and Kissinger has way too many hurdles in front of him to get his wish, or any other wish for that matter. And now, Saltmarsh is in terrible danger, and only one party member knows it. Thank you for watching as always. I will see you in the next episode. This is the Hero of Julios, Axing out.